Are you going to Iceland for the first time and don't know where to begin? Then you've clicked on the right video. I just came back from an Iceland trip, and the country is not only packed with jaw-dropping scenery, but it's also full of unique cultures and ways of living that you can't find elsewhere.
Just 8 months.
Not to mention, it is the best travel destination for road trippers.
Look at that car over there. Ooh, look at that mountain. Wow. Wow.
So I want to take you to Iceland and share the 9-day itinerary and 30 things to do that will give you the ultimate Iceland experience. This itinerary includes 2 parts. 6 days of ring road trip where you travel the country in a full circle, and 3 days of a compact trip to Reykjavik and surrounding areas, including Golden Circle, which is a mini version of a ring road trip. And finally, Iceland's must-visit Blue Lagoon. I have a lot to unpack, so without further ado, let's dive right in. Part 1, Ring Road Trip. The ultimate way to see Iceland is to go on a road trip following the famous Ring Road, which encircles the entire island, taking you through all the different regions and main highlights. I would say you need at least 6 days to complete this route. Let's begin on day 1. If you are taking an international flight, it's very likely that you will take an overnight flight. So I strongly recommend you to do just one sightseeing destination that will give you an instant preview of your Iceland trip, yet doesn't drain your energy too much. My recommendation? Seljalandsfoss. Did I say that right? This waterfall is not only beautiful and elegant, but also visitors can walk behind the waterfall into a small cave. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I arrived in Iceland, I didn't feel very enthusiastic about getting into a car for another 2.5-hour drive to get here.
So we are fully stocked and we are ready to hit the road.
However, this waterfall changed everything for me. I even felt rejuvenated by having this experience of singing and listening to the waterfall. I can say this with confidence, that this is the best way to start the journey in Iceland and beat the jet lag. For the first night in Iceland, I recommend you to stay in a town called Vik.
Your destination is on the left.
It's a very charming seafront village that has a handful of things to do, places to stay, and restaurants to dine out. We had a dinner at Strondin Bistro and Bar. And here's the thing. The seafood chowder here is closer to a shepherd pie than soupy chowder. You will also see Arctic char on most menus. It's a cold water fish that tastes like somewhere between salmon and trout.
Close to salmon, but a little bit leaner. White fish kind of taste.
And if you don't want to take a chance, you can always order fish and chips made with cod. Here's something else you need to know about traveling to Iceland. During mid-May to mid-August, the sun only sets for around 3 hours a day, which means there is absolutely no nighttime for the whole 24 hours. So don't forget to bring your own sleeping mask. If you want to know more about the packing essentials, check out the video in the link above. Day 2. Start the day with a hot breakfast if you can. When you're on the road, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We stayed in a hotel called Hotel Vik. I'll review all the hotels that I stay at in another video that is linked above and down in the description.
We're gonna have a big breakfast before our adventure, day number 2.
After breakfast, we went for a little walk and arrived here on foot. This gorgeous black sand is the result of the hot lava from a dormant volcano having cooled off.
It's so cold.
This was my very first time singing black sand, and it was fascinating to see how the sand gets even darker when the waves wash away.
Cannot get over black sand.
Right?
It's amazing to see.
We give this black sand a thumbs up. And here's a quick tip. If you want a more safe and relaxing time on the black sand, go to the black sand beach, Vic. This side of the beach was less crowded and the water was much calmer. We felt like we had the whole beach to ourselves. Before heading back on the road, we spent a little time on top of a hill of the village, where this picturesque church sits. Remember I said there are a handful of things to do in this village? Horse riding and parachute jumping are available here if you are adventure seekers. On the other hand, if sightseeing is your thing, let's just keep moving to our next destination. This majestic canyon with a unique serpent-like shape was created by glacier rivers some 10,000 years ago. Well, let that sink in for a second. There is a nice trail you can walk along this picturesque canyon side. So take your time and explore and take it all in while you're here.
Okay, photo.
That's it for sightseeing for the day. The second village we stayed at is this. This village is located near a lake. It has a good number of restaurants to dine out and lodging to stay at.
It's time to get some dinner.
My recommendation to you for restaurant is they had a good variety of foods on their menu that are familiar to American travelers, such as pizzas, burgers, and even barbecue pork ribs, along with some nice salads. We capped the day off by relaxing at this beautiful cottage hotel, full of Scandinavian and Nordic charms. My favorite part about this lodging was the private deck looking outside the lake. It was the perfect spot to see the sunset and spend some tranquil moments. Day 3. Now that you are settled on your Iceland road trip, it's time to tackle some serious tours. Ready for the adventure?
I hope so. Look at that mountain up ahead of us.
10% of Iceland is covered by glaciers, and as you can guess, the percentage is going down due to global warming.
Unfortunately, in 20 years, all of these may be gone.
Because
According to our tour guide, this lake is only 18 years old. What was it before that? Glacier field. Now you know why I'm raving about this hike so much. It felt like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, knowing that these glaciers will become more rare.
Oh my god, cannot recommend this enough.
And here's what you need to know about the tour. Usually the tour runs twice a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Book the tour as early as you can because they do get sold out. All the safety gear will be provided by the tour company.
Amazing.
After the hike, we hit a gas station nearby to grab a quick bite. The most popular and budget-friendly food to get in Iceland is a gas station hot dog.
we have very high expectations.
I think this will fulfill.
They are about $2.50 each, and it's the best bang for your buck in Iceland. Within an hour's drive, we arrived at this jaw-dropping view for our much-anticipated tour of Glacier Lagoon. It was an out-of-this-world experience to see blue water dotted with ice, seals swimming in the water, and birds sitting on glaciers. We went on an amphibian boat tour that took about 30 minutes. And this is what we saw. Jaw-dropping is an understatement.
And this is my piece of ice.
There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate this small piece.
All the other icebergs that you're seeing here are coming directly from there.
We also got to hold the ice, and it was really cool. Get it? Do I recommend this tour? You bet I do. I've linked down tour companies in the description below. After this tour, I suggest you go to the most photographed beach in Iceland, conveniently located right across the lagoon. Diamond Beach gives you another out-of-this-world view. You can see big ice clumps on the black sand, which looks like a huge diamond. The thing about Diamond Beach though, well, at least in my experience, you're not guaranteed to see huge ice pieces that you've probably seen in surreal-looking photos. So don't raise your expectations too high based on some photos you've seen online. But I definitely recommend you to stop by, especially because it takes no efforts to get here from the Glacier Lagoon. After an eventful day of major tours, we headed over to a fishing village called Hof. There are a number of restaurants and gas stations in this town. These restaurants, they don't take reservations, so get here as early as you can right after the tour. Most tourists flock into this town right after the tours are done. We went to this restaurant and had our first langoustine, which is a Nordic lobster, and it was delicious. After another scenic drive, we arrived at our lodging nearby a quiet rural town. On day 3, halfway into our ring road trip, we made it to the east side of Iceland. Day 4, we started the day with another unexpected scenic drive. And we're just going to a supermarket. Iceland is infamous for its high price of produce and everyday essentials. Well, the whole country being a volcanic island definitely puts it at a disadvantage when it comes to farming and manufacturing. And the country has to rely on imports. So things do cost more than you expect.
Our souvenir.
However, all this out-of-this-world stunning nature of Iceland is technically free of charge for us to enjoy. So I couldn't really complain about paying a few extra dollars for daily essentials and lodging in exchange. Trust me, I'm a New Yorker. Normally, I love to complain. After a quick breakfast, we hit the road. The F road. If you are going to Iceland during the summer, you are in luck for some F-road driving. These narrow gravel roads are open during summer and only accessible via 4x4 vehicles. We left the Road 1, which is the ring road, and we took the Road 95 for a couple of hours to cross the mountains.
I'm on top of a mountain.
It was a great way to explore and discover some hidden gems that are off the beaten path, such as this waterfall. After 2 hours of bumpy yet fun ride, we arrived here. Known for its sculpture-like shape and hexagonal columns, This canyon had an out-of-this-world view for sure. Drones are allowed here, so we were able to see these enchanting basalt formations up closer. With that said, it is strongly advised not to go off the marked trails in this canyon for safety, though some people weren't really following these rules. I do understand the urge to get a nice photo with this wonderful nature as a backdrop for your social media. However, if we don't respect these safety rules, we might lose the opportunity to enjoy this wonder of nature altogether. So let's be respectful. Now we are back on a road, driving towards the west. Out of nowhere, we found this little village and decided to have dinner at this restaurant. So I've been wanting to try authentic and unique Icelandic cuisine, and this place had something for me. First of all, their menu looked pretty authentic. And of course, they didn't have the boring and usual meat such as chicken or beef or pork. So we ordered moss soup, lamb, and Arctic char. The waiter informed us that the reindeer are not available at the moment because they haven't hunted them yet. You know, like a normal restaurant. The moss soup was milk-based and it tastes a lot like a sweet cereal with wet vegetables. Surprisingly, it had a very familiar taste. I was a little bit hesitant to order a lamb because I've been seeing this beautiful species all around Iceland on the road, and it felt cruel to eat them. However, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So I gave it a try, and it was delicious. Thank you, lamb. All in all, a great spot to stop by and feed yourself with authentic local foods on the road. After about an hour and a half drive, we arrived here. A geothermal spot known for bubbling pools of mud.
Wow, it's quite interesting.
You can walk along the marked trails to explore different mud pools until you start to smell extremely unpleasant sulfuric gas.
Oh, that's really bad.
Oh my god, this one is really bad.
Despite the odor, its surreal scenery was definitely one of the most interesting attractions we saw in Iceland. Within a 20-minute drive, we arrived at our fourth lodging, Laxa Hotel. Day 5. Today is the last full day on a ring road. Other than getting attacked by jillions of flies in the parking lot, we had a pretty good start. We made a slight detour to visit this waterfall, which was featured in a sci-fi movie, Prometheus. Can you guess where we are going? Yes, Dettifoss. Dettifoss is the second most powerful waterfall in Europe. It was definitely worth the slight detour to see this gushing flow of the massive waterfall. I also like the trails leading up to the waterfall. The barren landscape of the trails adds to the surprise and contrasts the big reveal of the lively waterfall at the end. Within a little over 2 hours of driving, we arrived at another major waterfall, Goðafoss. If Dettifoss draws a big crowd, especially photo enthusiasts, I think Goðafoss boasts more elegant waterfalls and provides various angles to view the waterfalls and nice trails and ample space to explore the surrounding areas. Actually, we're gonna pass the Goðafoss because we were kind of running behind the schedule. But when we saw the Goðafoss on the road, yes, the waterfall can be seen on the road and you can't miss it or ignore it, so we had to make a stop. It was possible because we were traveling during the summer, and as I mentioned before, there is a 24-hour daylight. So you can kind of stretch out your schedule a little bit and be more flexible with your planning and itinerary. Summer is kind of the best season to travel to Iceland for this reason. When you finally make it to the northern Iceland, you should pay a visit to the capital of the north, Akureyri. With just about 20,000 people living here, this is not a big city by any means. However, you know Iceland has the lowest population density of all of Europe. No wonder I loved being here. Anyways, by their standard, Akureyri is a major city. It has bustling streets of restaurants, shops, and a rich history. I personally didn't spend ample time here, but I think this is a great town to have as a base and go out for day trips to Dettifoss or the lake, aka Diamond Circle. Speaking of a circle, our ring road trip is now coming to an end. Tomorrow, we're driving all the way to Reykjavik. We'll start a part 2 of our Iceland trip. Before that, let's get some sleep.
Hotel number 4.
Day 6. We're finally driving to Reykjavik today, the capital of Iceland. After spending 5 days unplugged in nature, we were definitely looking for changing the gear and enjoying the hustle and bustle of a city.
Great.
Where are you going today?
Reykjavik.
After 2.5 hours of driving in rainy Iceland, we arrived here. I think this is the most original looking church I've ever seen so far. It was really cool to see the resemblance of the distinctive landscape of Iceland, such as glaciers and basalt rocks. The interior of the church was as distinctive and gorgeous as the exterior. As a Lutheran church, this understated yet expressive church has become a national icon since its completion in 1980. You can also take an elevator to go up to see a panoramic view of Reykjavik, which cost around $8 per person. I had a plan to visit another tall building in Reykjavik, so I skipped this. We parked our car at the church and strolled around the town, taking photos with cool murals like this. Spotting some familiar cultural references here and there. And window shopping galleries and souvenir shops. We arrive at the Saga Museum near a harbor. It's a museum where you see wax figures and hear audio guides of the brief history of the settlement of Iceland. You can also try out Viking outfits and take some photos at the end.
How heavy is it?
20 pounds, yes.
Honestly, it's a bit cheesy wax museum, but it gets the job done, so I definitely recommend you to check out. But if you are more into intellectual exhibits, I think you should visit the settlement exhibition.
Best burger. Let's have some burgers for change.
Now that we are in the capital of Iceland, it was so easy to find restaurants and places to eat. We went to a casual burger place near the harbor.
Yeah, nice ambience.
And they had good beer selections and burgers. These burgers were around $16 to $18, which was actually less expensive than what we had paid in small town restaurants so far.
Onions, mayonnaise, all sorts of stuff.
After walking around Reykjavik for a while, we were so looking forward to checking into our hotel and resting our feet. That being said, we wanted to stay in a place that's not in the city center, but a more scenic and serene area. Luckily, we found the perfect place to stay. Located within a 20-minute drive from the city, this fisherman's village was everything that we asked for. It sits on a tip of land that's surrounded by ocean. It has a beach nearby, beautiful horses on the property. Oh, hello. And the most incredible sunset I've seen.
This place is like a magic.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Day 7. After getting good sleep and rest, we were ready to go on a full-day self-guided tour of the Golden Circle. It's a great day trip from Reykjavik and lets you see many of the staple attractions of Iceland just in one day. So if you only have a few days to spend in Iceland, and if you don't want to rent a car and do a whole package Iceland trip, I highly recommend you to check out this Golden Circle tour or Diamond Circle tour. Both are wonderful introduction to the country. For me, I've done a ring road trip, but I just couldn't get enough of Iceland's nature. So we hit the road again. Our first stop was the geothermal energy exhibition. This power station featured interactive and educational exhibits on sustainable energy projects that Iceland is a leading country of, such as turning CO2 into stones. I'll leave all the details out in this video so you can visit to learn about it yourself.
Hot spring was considered evil. And then about 700 years later, people started research on how to use the geothermal energy.
Within a 30-minute drive, we arrive at the second stop in Golden Circle. About 3,000 years ago, a volcano erupted, and this crater was formed. And now we have this beautiful lake to look at. There are rugged trails that you can walk along, enjoying the panoramic view of the lake. Not only that, you can also reach the bottom of the crater. But be careful, these paths were quite slippery. Our next stop in the Golden Circle is this. There aren't many places in the world where you can see this rare sight of hot spring erupting from the ground. If you have a limited time and have to choose just one place to visit in the Golden Circle, I'll say choose the geyser.
So this eruption happens almost like every 10 minutes. So
like I said. Within less than 10 minutes, there is another waterfall that you don't want to miss. Was I getting tired of putting my rain pants on every time I had to see these waterfalls? Well, would you? This waterfall has a multi-step cascade, and you can view it from the top and from up close. They also have a big souvenir store and food courts that open during the day. To cap the day off, we stop at the Thingvellir National Park. This UNESCO heritage site is one of the most important historical sites in the creation of the Icelandic nation.
This is a measurement system. Measure from the elbow to the fingertips.
That's true. In the early days, settlers had to come to this church to measure anything, perhaps to trade things with each other. They were using the walls of a church as a ruler because that was considered the most reliable method to measure anything back in those days. 11 p.m., you can still go outside and do sightseeing. However, it's really cold right now, so that's another thing that you need to make a note of. Day 8. For the last 7 days, Iceland has put us in a constant awe with its wondrous nature. So before we left this country, we had to make sense of it all. So we went here.
8K.
Land is created and destroyed here faster than anywhere else in the world. Iceland stretches by about 2 centimeters per year. The sea erodes the shore at about the same rate. Mountains, islands, lakes, and gorges come and go and transform. It's a land whose story always seems to be starting a new chapter. Wow, I didn't expect to get such a poetic and articulate explanation like this. After geeking out about the geography of this country, we went to see a virtual aurora show, an artificially made ice caves. Here's a heads up, real aurora and ice caves are only available to enjoy during cold seasons. So if you're here during the summer like I was, you can still experience this in a virtual way. It felt like a real aurora.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Pretty cool stuff. Feels very real, like cold, and it is real snow. Another highlight here is the restaurant on the top floor.
This is a moving restaurant.
What?
It does a full circle in 2 hours. Look at that.
You heard it right. The floor makes a 360-degree rotation in 2 hours. Slowly it's moving, wow, drifting. Just like Iceland's land. Plus, old glass dome gives you a panoramic view of the city. You can do zip lining, souvenir shopping, and taking a panoramic look at Reykjavik here. Tickets aren't cheap, but all the exhibitions and the virtual activities definitely make it worthwhile. Due to consistent rain, we decided to head back to our hotel to relax, snap some photos, and start packing our luggage, because tomorrow we are leaving Iceland. Day 9. Today is our last day in Iceland. And I've saved one of the best things to do in Iceland for last. Let's do this! As one of the 25 wonders of the world, this geothermal spa attracts big crowds. Known for its rejuvenating and nourishing water filled with silica, algae, and minerals, this spa did justice to the hype. Found a good spot? We spent almost half a day here, so we needed to grab lunch inside the spa. We started with complimentary sparkling wine and bread and had delicious codfish. All in all, it was a top-notch restaurant. I have to say, it's the best fish I had in Iceland, yes. We stayed here a few more hours and got totally relaxed and ready for the flight. There you have it, the 9-day itinerary for Iceland. Would you do a road trip here? What was your favorite thing to do among the 30 things to do in Iceland? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel. I have more Iceland and travel videos coming up soon. My name is Juhi and I'm all about helping you plan the best trip overseas by sharing my own experience. Thanks for watching.